the first time I show up to the school for the first practice I was going to help out with, I get there and I walk up and Coach Lewis goes, "Hey guys, this is Matt Price. He played some college baseball. He'll be helping us out some this season." Introduced me to the guys. There's probably 9 or 10 players there, and he goes, "All right, guys, well, y'all have fun. I'm gonna go finish basketball practice." Just leaves me with the team, and this is like their high school varsity team. This is their school, like their official team.
Hey, you're listening to the Friends in Austin podcast. I'm your host, Justin Talent, and every week I bring you the stories of the people of Austin. Thank you for listening. Hey, welcome back to Friends in Austin. Today I have Matt Price on the podcast. He is the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called RBI Austin. Thanks for coming in, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So can you tell me, what is RBI Austin? And what's the whole goal of the organization?
Yeah, RBI Austin, we are a nonprofit organization here in Austin, Texas. We are the simplest way I could tell you is intersection of kids, sports, and faith. So if you combine those three things, then for us, we primarily do it through baseball and softball. But we're reaching a little bit over 1,200 kids, mostly in the eastern crescent of Austin, and wanting to give them opportunities in life. We use baseball and softball as our engagement tool, but also mentoring them off the field, academic support, etc.
Cool. So can you tell me kind of how the whole thing got started? And I know that it's national, but there's an Austin, RBI Austin is one of many.
That's right. Yeah. So back in 1989, there was a former Major League Baseball player named John Young who was in the Los Angeles area, and he started a program in Compton. And he basically looked around and seen that the sport of baseball was kind of dying off in the inner city community there. And as a former ball player, he wanted to give kids that opportunity. So he started a program there. Major League Baseball latched onto it shortly after and said, "Hey, this is a great concept. We want kids all over the country to have this opportunity who otherwise maybe wouldn't, to play the sport and to be developed lifelong, even outside of the sport." So MLB branded it as RBI, Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities. And
that's clever.
Yeah, really clever. Yeah. Baseball theme, right? Yeah. And then, in 2011, when we launched here, Austin at that time was the largest city in America that didn't have an RBI chapter. And so we got to start it here in Austin. And it wasn't a preordained plan. It was, there was kind of a series of events that led to that.
Well, what was the series of events that led to that?
Yeah, great question. So I got to Austin in 2007, and in all frankness, man, I'd played baseball growing up, played in college.
Well, where are you from?
I'm from Corpus Christi. So born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, grew up on the coast, about 20 minutes from the beach. Went to school up in the Chicago area. They say that bad baseball talent travels north. So I went far enough north and found a college team that would take me. I played 4 years up in Chicago at Wheaton College.
What position did you play?
Man, I was a pitcher and first base. I'm a lefty, so they only let lefties play so many positions, and those are two of them.
I only played baseball up until high school, not in high school though, and I played youth baseball. Basically, I played pitcher and first base. That was my favorite.
There you go, man.
You get all the action. You get to do everything.
Yeah, you don't get bored there, right? You're not like in right field waiting for a ball to be hit, hopefully.
Yeah.
But grew up, so Corpus to Chicago, survived 4 winters up there in Chicagoland, and said, I got to get back to the promised land. So came to Austin. I got a job here with Frost Bank, was doing commercial lending with Frost for a few years. At that point,
did you work in that huge tower downtown?
I did. And so this here's your timestamp. So I get to Austin in 2007. And at that time, the Frost Tower was the tallest building in Austin. Well, fast forward now 14 years later.
I think the Jenga building might be now.
Yeah. Well, and there's at least probably 10 or 12 that are, 50, the Austonian was the first that really surpassed it, but now there's all these going up. So now the Frost Tower is dwarfed by the rest of the skyline. But yeah, back then it was the thing. And as a 22-year-old, man, that's pretty cool. I mean, downtown Austin in the Frost Tower.
And Austin, I still think it feels really small, which is what I like about it. I used to live in Chicago myself, from Indiana, but man, just the scale of Chicago, and then coming to Austin, I was like, okay, like I'm from a small town. This makes me feel a little more comfortable.
That's right.
Like, you just look at the city, there it is. Like that's right. And even with these new skyscrapers, you still look at downtown. It's like that's it.
That's it. And geographically, Austin is not a very large city. The population's booming, but you're still like to drive through Austin, you can get through it pretty quick.
Yeah. We just drove from the west side to the east side the other day, and my friend Jack was saying that. He's like, we just drove through the whole thing.
Yeah, we just made it. Yeah. And in Chicago, it's like you can drive for, it seems like hours, and you're like, man, I'm still in Chicagoland. All these towns that are connected to it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so got to Austin, and I was done with baseball. So I'd finished playing in college, played 4 years up there at Wheaton, and 4 losing seasons up there. So kind of left this taste in my mouth of, okay, kind of time to turn the page, ready to focus on a career, do other things. Wasn't really looking to stay involved with baseball at all, but I had a friend from church who was a teacher at Reagan High School, now called Northeast High School. And she knew I'd played baseball growing up, and she's like, hey man, you should come help out with our baseball team at Reagan. And I said, what are you talking about, Candace? I'm a banker. I'm not a coach. I know what you're talking about. Y'all have a coach at the school? And she said, well, we could use some extra help, and I'm sure the boys would love, having a former college player out here to teach them some things. And so I somewhat reluctantly agreed to meet with the baseball coach there, a guy named Coach Lewis at the time. And he said, hey, we'd love your help. He said, we're short staffed. He said, my one assistant coach is the head basketball coach, so I don't really see him until halfway through baseball season. And so, man, a couple days a week would take off the suit and tie, help out with the baseball team there. And the first time I show up to the school for the first practice I was going to help out with, I get there and I walk up, and Coach Lewis goes, hey guys, this is Matt Price. He played some college baseball. He'll be helping us out some this season. Introduced me to the guys. There's probably 9 or 10 players there, and he goes, all right guys, well y'all have fun. I'm gonna go finish basketball practice. Just leaves me with the team. And this is like their high school varsity team. This is their school, like their official team, and just leaves me with the players. And so I'm kind of sitting there and like, all right guys, well, and just kind of made it up as I went. Right, let's do some ground balls, But that was my introduction to Reagan High School, and it was at the time it was the school was in a really tough spot. It was on the verge of being shut down by the state of Texas.
I still think it's funny that he conned you into coaching that baseball team.
It was, the first person was my teacher friend Candace, who she knew what she was doing. She's like, hey man, if I can just get him to show up, he's going to get suckered into it. And sure enough, here we are.
So then you were about to finish saying something else though after that before I interrupted you.
Yeah. Well, so what kind of happened from there was got involved. The school was in a tough spot. I started learning about the school. That's where I started learning about the school. Had really been struggling the last few years. The state was considering shutting it down because it failed the state standardized testing for a few years in a row. And the baseball team was kind of a reflection of the school. So, the school was in a tough spot. The baseball team at the time had not won a single game in 8 years, right? Which is, we're talking about a 5A public school in Austin, Texas. You figure surely, you might get lucky and win a game here or there, but man, they went 8 years without a win.
That's incredible.
But it really reflected some of the need and some of the challenges that school is facing, and the fact that, a lot of the kids growing up in that community either didn't play baseball at all, or if they did, they're like, I'm going to pick another school to go to. Right. And you kind of saw that in the state of the school at that time.
How big is baseball in Texas? I mean, I'm from the Midwest, and I mean, I see there's a ton of baseball diamonds up there. I see them here though. I do see some here. Is it not very popular?
It's Texas is known for baseball. I mean, you've got kind of Texas, Florida, and California that are probably your 3 biggest states for baseball, and just for when you talk about like athletes going on and playing college and that sort of thing, Texas is a pretty big hotbed. The thing that has happened in baseball that has really created some just some challenges for certain kids to play is it's become, and it's not just baseball. There's most of the youth sports world has kind of gone this direction where it's gone to this travel ball structure, right? Where instead of playing in your local community leagues where it's like, hey, you grow up in this neighborhood, you find the closest little league, you go play there, you end up playing for your high school. Instead of that, which was when I was growing up in the 90s, that was more what it was.
That's what it was for me too. The only people playing travel ball were people that wanted to be really good or were on an all-star team or something like that.
Yeah, and
everyone else just plays. You'd play
exactly.
Local.
So your majority were playing in your local league, and then you had maybe a small percentage that were going and doing all-stars or the travel ball thing. Well, it's kind of flipped now where, there's kind of this message that started happening about 20 years ago. And actually, Austin was one of the places where select baseball really took off. It was one of the first places where you started to see more of these, what they call select teams that would go out and play tournaments. And what's happened now is for parents, and let me say this first. There are pros and cons to travel ball. There are pros and cons to playing in your local league. And each of them, neither one is necessarily right or wrong, but I'm going to point out some of the things that have made baseball less accessible overall to the general population. And so in the travel ball, what happened is, families started believing that, hey, the only way my kid can really get that experience they need to excel and to go to the next level is to go play travel ball. Well, early on, that was more the case, right? Because it was truly, some of your all-stars, right? Some of your top players that would play in this. And usually it wasn't like that's all they did. They still played in their local league, but it's like on top of that, they're going to go play on a select team playing some tournaments. Well, now what's happened is people, start thinking that, hey, well, the only way you get to the next level is to go play travel ball. Well, now what's happened is that 90% of youth sports is travel ball. So what used to be the 90% in your local league is now the travel ball circuit. And what's happened is basically diluted travel ball, where the competition level in travel ball today is no better than the local league I grew up playing in, where I played against future college players, played against a future major leaguer in my local neighborhood league, right? So it's and the challenge for a lot of kids from low to middle income homes is, man, you gotta have a certain family structure to do travel ball. You got to have parents who can take off work on Thursday and Friday or work remotely and go with you, to play in these tournaments. You got to have the money. You got to have the ability to travel. It's
very enjoyable just to be able to drive to the baseball field in your local neighborhood and just play a baseball game. And then the people in the stands are the parents, and you meet a lot of people. It's very community oriented. But yeah, when I don't know. I thought the travel thing was cool. It's a special thing you do that is a small sliver. But yeah,
and it is. It can be a really good thing. It gives kids exposure and opportunities they may not otherwise have. But it's kind of gone from being the kind of the special add-on to help you get to that next level to one of the only options.
How did that happen? Why?
I think more and more families just started kind of saying, hey, we're going to go play travel ball. And then as that picked up and it became an industry, it became a thing where there was money to be made. And rather than it being select from the standpoint of, hey, only maybe the most talented or most experienced players will be chosen for these teams to go represent, your community, like in an all-star tournament. Instead of that, it became the selection wasn't based on talent. It was based on money. So it's like, hey, if you'll write a check to our organization, then we will have a spot for your kid on our team. And so now you just have all these different layers of teams that may or may not actually be, more talented than your local league team. So that's I'm kind of describing some of the need in youth sports, which is here's a stat. There's a group called the Aspen Institute who has done a lot of study. They're a think tank. One of the things they study is sports. And a kid from a low-income home is half as likely to play a team sport as a kid from a higher-income home in America today. And that stat has been widening over time. So the fewer and fewer kids from those lower-income homes.
And that's partly due to at least in baseball, due to the new focus on traveling.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I think travel and for all of you sports, travel ball is like a $18 billion industry now. So it's become this really,
holy crap.
You see these big tournament complexes being built. And again, there's going to be so much good to it. By itself, there's a lot of good to it, but the side effect that I don't think was intended is that now your local league, many of them have died off, right? And one league, and you talk about East Austin, there's a number of leagues where you go back to the 80s and 90s and were these booming, thriving leagues where you just had it was a great community gathering spot. You had your most, all the kids in the community played there. So you had kids first time players all the way to kids that were going to become future major leaguers all playing together. And that's the part that's kind of died off now, where you go to these local leagues and you don't see nearly as much of that.
Okay, question on that, because as a kid, I never, of course, these aren't things you think about. I just knew that there was a league, but but I never thought about who funds them, because obviously you're saying they died off. Yeah, who starts and funds these leagues?
Yeah, most of them are nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
You have many that are chartered by Little League. You have some that are chartered by Pony, where they're part of this large organization, and they pay an annual membership fee type of deal, and they give them a structure, and they have an all-star tournament for their top players to go play in. But most of them are they're self-funded, meaning it's the participants that are part of the league that are they're paying a registration fee. And then even within that, you get, within that community, the local businesses who say, hey, we're going to sponsor this Little League. And you see the signs out there on the fence, right? But it's really funded from within, right? It's these communities that between the families and the businesses and the churches and all the different institutions rally behind the kids and say, hey, we're going to give them this opportunity together. And to me, that's one of the sadder parts about kind of this unintended consequence of travel ball is you've really lost a lot of that local community buy-in to the kids, where you're all getting behind these kids in your community. Now it's a lot of the travel teams. I mean, it's kids from all over. There's kids who live in Austin and their travel ball team is based out of Houston, right? And vice versa. I mean, so it's not about your community anymore. It's more about the individual kid as compared to the community. Yeah.
So we started on that when we were talking about, you started coaching, and then, I mean, you're trying to solve this problem of recreating these local leagues, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, for us, when we started, we had a group of high schoolers. It was the Reagan High School guys where we started. And then also Eastside Memorial High School, which is also in East Austin, was in a similar spot as Reagan back in 2009, 2010, when we were getting going. And, what we realized with these kids, and what the first summer we had a team, what happened was Reagan 2009 hadn't won a game in 8 years, out there helping out a little bit. Started asking the guys, hey, where do y'all play summer ball? And every one of them said, oh, coach, I don't play summer ball. I said, guys, you're never going to win a game if you're not working at it and playing outside of your school team. And they said, well, coach, we love to play. We just don't have a team to play on. And it's kind of one of those light bulb moments for me, because I grew up in Corpus Christi, and down in Corpus, and it's obviously a lot different town than Austin. And part of that difference is, everybody plays baseball down there, and it's just part of the culture. And it's not about if you come from a better off home or a lower income home, or it's not about, like, every kid had an opportunity. It wasn't based on class or income. And so I was just shocked to kind of see, when I got to Reagan, realize that, wow, there's a whole pocket of the city where kids who want to play baseball and they don't have that opportunity. So what kind of happened from there is I had another buddy, his name's Andy Harris. He played college ball, and also knew him from church. And I said, hey man, what do you think about, maybe starting a summer ball team, so you guys actually have a place to play and get better? And I didn't really take any action on it, kind of, went my own way. And then he comes back to me a month later and he goes, Matt, I've been praying about this for the last month, and God wants us to start this summer team. I go, oh, right, man. Yeah. Let's get on that,
Yeah.
And so, Andy, the faithful prayer warrior. So we call a team meeting with the Reagan guys, and, I think most people know this, but you got 9 players on the field for baseball. You really need at least 12 to 15 players to really have a team, have some guys on the bench that can come in. So we call our first team meeting, right towards the end of the spring, and say, hey guys, we're going to have a summer team. Come out if you want to play. 2 players showed up. And so we go, I don't know if this is going to work out. 2 players, that's a long way to get from there to full roster, is a long way. But there was a mother there, one of the moms of the players, who did show up. And she, longtime community member, been in that Reagan Northeast Austin community for decades. And she said, hey guys, no, we're like, this team's going to happen. These boys need a place to play. We need this opportunity. And she said, I'll make sure we get enough boys out here. So between her and getting more Reagan guys, and then the Eastside Memorial High School players coming in too, we had enough. And that team went 2-15 that first summer, which was a raging success because we had 2 wins, right?
Yeah.
When you haven't won a game in your high school career and you get a win, it's like you won the World Series, which is pretty special for those guys. But the bigger thing that happened was, as we're coaching these guys and giving them rides and games and practices, we started hearing their stories and hearing more about their lives. And when you're driving through traffic in Austin on the way somewhere with some, just start, hey, so you have any siblings? Tell me about, what are your interests? and learned that most of the guys on that team were fatherless. Most of them had no just consistent mentorship, guidance in their lives. But guys that were really had some great upsides, right? Guys that each one of them, you just saw the gifts and abilities and talents that they had, not just in sports, but as people. And so we started going through that summer, and we saw these guys really start to grow, and some of the soft skills like showing up on time, which, by the way, I showed up to your house 7 minutes late today. So I haven't learned that one very well myself, but these guys figured it out. And just persevering through adversity. And some of those soft skills that I think I took for granted, these guys really, as we kind of started pressing into them and saying, hey guys, you can do better. Or, if they're, throwing a tantrum after making an error or something, just talking through what does it look like to persevere through that, to stay composed, and things that obviously help you in sports, but translate off the field in really important ways too, right? When you have those kinds of soft skills, and then from a faith side, for Andy and I, when we jump into it, it's like why would we give up our summer and put this time into this and make this effort, and a lot of it was driven by our faith, and so getting to really share our faith with these guys too, and help them see their God-given purpose in life, and see, man, they had gifts and abilities that they could use to really have meaningful lives and live a life of purpose.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, this is going back quite a bit in the conversation, but when you got left at the field and you started teaching them to coach and stuff like that, I mean, obviously baseball well because you played a lot, but so what'd you do? Did you just like, well, what would I have had to do in practice, and started just learning how to structure everything? Yeah.
And I, at that time I was about a year or so out of college. I played a ton my whole life, but I never coached a team. And so I just kind of harkened back to my playing days. All right, well, what does a practice look like? And started organizing the practice around that, and had to figure out, okay, what positions do you guys play? That was because I just met the team, right? So I'm like, hey, who's an infielder? Who's an outfielder? Who pitches? And just started kind of figuring that out and getting to know the guys. And baseball's a repetition sport. So when you have a certain part of the game that you're working on, a lot of it is rinse and repeat. You don't have to be too creative. It's whether it's batting practice or taking ground balls or other facets of the game. A lot of it is repetition. That's how you get better. So
you got this team developed. Don't we need a lot more teams? I mean, who are they playing against?
Yeah, right.
Like that. So
yeah. So we had that team that first summer, and we realized we got into that summer and we realized, hey, this was that was more than we had bargained for, right? We thought we were going to coach a summer team. What happened was we saw these guys really grow as ball players, but more so grow as young men. And we said, hey, we can't just kind of go on with our life as if that didn't happen. We got to find a way to continue with these guys. And then also, to your point, knowing, hey, there's a lot more kids out here in this community who need the same kind of opportunity and would take advantage of it if they had it, just like our guys took advantage of the opportunity. And so we kept in touch with the guys. We had a buddy who's a professional outdoorsman who led a camping trip for our whole team that fall. And man, we do some baseball throughout that, the off season, but we just stayed in touch with the guys. And then fast forward, so that was 2009 is when we had that first team called the East Austin Blazers. That was one of the players that came up with the name.
What field do you play at, or do they play at?
Yeah, so they that first year we played at the Reagan High School field.
Where is that?
So if you're in Austin and you're going, say you're downtown, go north on 35, you hit 290, go east on 290 as if you're going towards Houston or Manor, and it's literally on 290. So just probably a mile or two east of 35.
There's another field, and I'm trying to remember what it was called. Mm-hmm. If you're crossing Town Lake to get into Austin from South Austin, and you turn right on Lady Bird Lake Trail, you're on the trail and you keep running that way.
Yep.
You go over a bridge and there's a baseball field right there in East Austin. Do you know what that's called?
Yeah. So there's a couple over there. There's Fiesta Gardens is one of the complexes there where there's a few fields. There's also Craig Fields, which is a bunch of softball fields right by Longhorn Dam. I don't know if you've run that part of the trail, but right up there, Craig Fields. And those are actually, both those sets of fields I just mentioned are fields that we now use in our program. There's a lot of The good news, bad news. There's a lot of available fields in Austin. When we were getting going, there weren't necessarily always kids out there using them. But there are a lot of fields in East Austin that thankfully we've had a great partnership with City of Austin and being able to get kids out there and make use of those fields, and in some cases do renovations to make the fields better.
Okay. You were saying how, you got involved with the kids' lives and everything else, and how baseball is great for that, man. Baseball is the most, I played several sports when I was a kid, but I got to say baseball was the most fun as a player and a community, because the team is large. Yeah. You get to play outside, outdoors, out on the field, and people come and watch. I mean, people come and watch all games. So I don't know, for whatever reason, baseball was the funnest youth sport I ever played. But
yeah. It's great because a kid who's never played the game before can jump in and learn it. And I mean, for example, we're doing a clinic this coming weekend, and it's for any kid. It's any kid can come and just try the game out. Learn, like, we'll have different stations where they learn how to hit, learn how to field, learn how to throw, all that kind of stuff. And then also for the kids who've been playing for a while, it's a great way for them to tune up and get out there and see some of their friends again. But you're right. It's as opposed to other sports where there's, I think maybe the entry is just a little bit higher barrier. It's not like football where it's like, hey man, you better be ready to get out there and like get physical pretty fast.
Football, yeah.
there's not really an easing into football. It's like, hey man, you better be ready.
Yeah, it's a little bit different of a mentality. And then if, like, I don't know how high school baseball is, but I remember my high school football, which I didn't play, and this is why I didn't. It's just because, they wanted you to do the 3-a-days in the summer. They're just kind of like, all right, football's your life now. And
it is, yeah.
It's like, I don't mind hard practices and hard sports, but I mean, I did wrestling, and it's like, practice is long, but there's one practice.
Right. Yep.
And then you leave.
That's right. Yeah. I can have a life outside of this. Yeah. Yeah. And baseball is great at the youth level. I mean, as you get older, as you get into high school, varsity, and college, obviously you're putting more and more time into it. But at the youth level for young kids, man, it's a great sport to try out. And it's something for us that, we want to engage kids in baseball and softball. But ultimately we know that they will retire from the game at some point. And it might be when they're 12. It might be when they're in high school. It might be after college. But that's why a lot of our mission and focus has over the years grown more and more on, okay, beyond the engagement in baseball and softball, how do we give kids opportunities to really excel in life?
Well, in any sport, especially at the youth level, just teaches life skills, like you said, showing up on time, communicating with people, getting along with people, taking instruction, noticing that you're not good at something and learning how to repetitively build a skill. All things that basically translate over into any period of your life. So
that's right.
Even if you decide you get to the high school, college level, and you decide the time commitment isn't what you want it to be, I mean, you're still going to take away a lot of skills from that.
That's right. Well, so one part of our journey, because you mentioned fields, and when we had this kind of ragtag grassroots team called the East Austin Blazers in 2009, 2010, and then we had a friend who said, hey, who had worked for Major League Baseball previously, and she said, hey, this RBI program, Major League Baseball, that could be a good fit for you guys to kind of expand what you're doing, reach more kids, get a little bit more of a presence in Austin. And
okay, hold on. So the whole RBI thing hadn't even started. Like, that had been started by Major League Baseball.
That's right.
Okay.
This was so everything with Reagan and these initial early years. This was pre RBI Austin. This was the East Austin Blazers, and it wasn't till 2011 when we actually affiliated with Major League Baseball and became RBI Austin.
But damn, that's 10 years. You've been doing that for 10 years.
Now we've been doing that for 10 years. That's right. So we just hit our 10-year mark, and Major League Baseball has been a great partner for us. They got a great team.
So wait, how did that? She told you, hey, maybe you should check this out, and then you looked into it.
We met for lunch one day, and she learned what we were doing, and she said her actually job right immediately before she got into Austin was with the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox actually have an RBI program that they run themselves. And so she was familiar with it, and she said, hey, y'all should look into this. So she connected us to the right people at Major League Baseball, and we kind of shared, hey, here's what we've been doing. Here's kind of our vision. We know there's more kids who need these opportunities. And Major League Baseball, they basically said, hey, like, what you guys have started is exactly, what the mission of RBI is nationally, and we think y'all would be a great fit. And they sent us an application, and we were going through it, and our big hole was on the application, you got to say where you would host your RBI program. And I mentioned we had started at the Reagan High School baseball field, but that field was not in good condition. And we just kind of knew, like, hey, Major League Baseball, they're not going to want to put their name on a program where we say we're hosting this program at a field that had potholes in it, that was pretty run down. That, and so we're like, all right, man, do we need to go raise a bunch of money and build a new field somewhere? Like, what are we going to do? One day I'm sitting, get an email. It's one of those emails that have been forwarded 3 or 4 times. It originated from the Los Angeles Dodgers groundskeeper. And the message said, hey, we have our annual groundskeepers convention coming up in Austin next year. And as part of our convention each year, we'll pick a high school field locally a year out, do a renovation project, and then unveil it at our convention. Do you know of a high school field in Austin that could use some work? And this email was forwarded to me, and I said, wow, okay, God, I see you. I see you working. And so long story short, we nominated the Reagan field, and Major League Baseball chose it. The Astros groundskeeper ended up being kind of the lead on the project. He was the closest major league team to us, and he did basically $150,000 field renovation, made it a brand new playing surface that kids could play on, and that Major League Baseball would be proud of. And so that kind of worked together. I think getting that renovation was partly enhanced by the fact that we were looking at becoming an RBI affiliate, and then vice versa. I think when Major League Baseball saw that, hey, there's this field being renovated that y'all are going to host your program out of, it really helped our cause there too.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish I could see the before and after pictures of the field, but it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And we have some before and afters, and, before is just one of those fields where, there's just weeds and potholes. It just hadn't really been taken care of for a while. And then, when the head groundskeeper for the Astros spends a few months renovating it, looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
You drive by, like, I want to play on that field, man. How do I get on that field? So
for sure.
It was a transformation, and it did drive. As soon as that field's rebuilt, all of a sudden, kids coming out of the woodworks.
It looks
play.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this looks legit. And then people want to come watch. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, that was a big part of our journey, was that field happening. And 2011, we become RBI, and we kept doing high school, but we said, hey, we got to reach kids at a younger age, or we're kind of missing the boat. We just knew that a lot of kids, by the time they're in high school, a lot of, especially in some of your lower income at-risk communities, for different reasons are doing other things. Sometimes it's dropping out of school. Sometimes they got to go work at a young age. And so we knew, hey, we got to, from both a baseball, softball standpoint, but also just a mentorship and faith side of things, we said we want to reach kids young. And so becoming RBI Austin helped us with that. When we went and, called on a local elementary school to invite them to have their kids, be a part of our program, coming as RBI Austin, part of Major League Baseball, was a lot easier getting the door open than, hey, my name is Matt Price. I'm with the East Austin Blazers. Y'all want to talk? And so we definitely used that MLB logo to help get us in some doors early on before we probably deserved any credibility. But it did help. It helped get kids excited in the schools, excited to partner with us and get their kids involved. And from a volunteer side, same thing. I mean, I mentioned your neighbor, Casey Bazelak, and we were friends, but for him and many others, I think the fact that we had a little bit of a foundation under us becoming an RBI affiliate, I think it helped just get people excited to jump in and give their time as coaches or mentors or other. Casey actually, speaking of Casey, he put a lot of time, field work time in. So he'd show up to these Reagan fields early years, man, and he'd just be out there raking them with his hula hoe. He'd mow them for us. I mean, he really got after it.
I can see him doing that.
Yeah, man. I think he was our head groundskeeper for the first couple of years, purely as a volunteer. We never paid the guy a dime, but but that's a big part of our story. It's people like Casey who have that heart and want to give back.
He's also the neighborhood snake wrangler.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he shared this with you. So one of his early teams in RBI Austin, this was a T-ball team, was called, you heard this?
No.
The Cobras, of course, right? It was the Cobras. And so, yeah, man, his snake affinity I guess lives on here, huh?
Yeah. Anytime someone finds one in their backyard, they call Casey and he comes over there and he relocates it to a location that is safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he'd probably relocate some of them to his house, but he's married now as opposed to 10 years ago. So I think Dina has set some boundaries around
snakes in the house.
Yeah, I think that was one of their like marital things. Like, all right, Casey, I love you, dude, but we got to get these snakes out of here. Fair enough.
That's funny. So how did things, continue to progress? Like how many teams you got now? I mean, because you started it, 2 people showed up at a practice.
We literally start with 2 people. Yeah. So we, it's gradually grown. So, that first year as RBI Austin, we had a little over 100 kids involved, and that was both 4 to 6 year olds in a T-ball league that we started, and then continuing with our high school age group. Today, so fast forward 10 years, we're now, as of the most recent year, 1,295 kids. And that's 4 to 18 boys and girls, baseball and softball on the field, plus our off the field mentorship programs that we're doing. And it wasn't overnight, but it's just been a gradual each year kind of building. And the community, man, we've had such great, just support from the community. So many families and parents and schools and community leaders in the East Austin community that, just love their community, love the kids in this community. And it's really, that's without the people and the families saying, hey, we want to do this for our kids, we wouldn't be here. I mean, we have a budget and we raise money, but, our volunteer investment, from parents, from volunteers, et cetera, is incredible. And that's how we got to 1,300 kids, was people giving their time.
That's crazy, man. That's a significant impact. I mean, you're definitely affecting a lot of people's lives, kids, parents, everything, communities being able to come together. Because again, baseball is a great fun. It's an amazing youth sport. And so just for the fact that so many of these kids didn't even have a chance to play it, or at least not play it at the way that it's really kind of meant to be played at a local level.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's really cool.
And it's been cool too. The last few years now, we've had more and more kids that are, graduating high school, and many of them going on to college. Many of them going actually play baseball or softball in college on scholarships, which has been pretty cool. Last couple of years, we had our first couple of players who got Division I baseball scholarship offers, and our girls aren't far behind. We started softball 3 or 4 years into it, and so our softball is still growing and kind of catching up to the boys. But we're gonna have our first. Actually, we had our first softball player who signed with a college just a couple weeks ago. So we're really excited for the girls. And we talk about the disparity between kind of low income, higher income, and youth sports. There's also some disparities as far as guy to girls and sport involvement. And so we're really pumped to have softball grown. Kat Osterman, she's a softball legend, Olympian. She played at UT, and she's actually on Team USA right now, but she's on our board and been a big part of what we're doing from a softball side. And we got some great on the baseball side, some great, former UT players and MLB players that have really gotten behind us and been great champions for us. And that all makes a difference, When you start out as the East Austin Blazers with 2 players, man, when you have a former big league player or Olympian come out and say, hey man, we're going to give our time and support you guys and support your kids, it really does make an impact. Yeah.
And it shows that they have an opportunity that they wouldn't have had if there weren't a bigger baseball presence in their community. And now they get to go to college at a discount or for free.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And for a lot of kids, we always say, hey man, that like our end game is not how far does a kid go in baseball or softball, but it's ultimately, are we setting them up for success in life, to live out their God-given purpose in life? And I know one kid who, dear part of our program, and he went to, after high school, he went to school for HVAC and got a certification and doing great now. And he's now, and it's great because you start having more and more of our kids who graduate and are entering careers. And now it's like, all right, man, when I need a plumber, I got my guy. When I need my AC worked on, got my guy. Don't have to look too far. But we're grateful, man. No matter what kind of career path our kids are taking as they get to that age, we're just, man, when they're kind of pursuing their dreams and they're living out their God-given purpose, we're pretty excited for them.
Hey, everyone. This is your host, Justin. I just wanted to thank everyone for listening and give those that are new to the podcast a reminder to please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player. If you're on YouTube, please like the video, share it with a friend. That helps us out. Thank you. So how do things look for you now? I mean, it's been 10 years. What are the struggles now? What are the things you're focusing on now? Any humps you're trying to get over?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, our first 10 years of existence, we've operated completely out of schools and in city ballparks. And that's been great because it puts us in these schools and neighborhoods where it's easy for kids to find us and be a part of RBI. But the downside and really the hurdle that we are currently facing is, we don't have a year-round place where kids can be part of RBI. On certain days, they know that, hey, we'll be at their school. On certain days, we might be at the local neighborhood parks and rec field, but none of those spaces are our own that we can day in, day out operate out of. And so that's one thing our board has been looking at is actually creating kind of an HQ, a home for RBI Austin where kids can come and they can get the sports training, they can get the mentorship, the academic support, the job training, but really just that hub where, no matter what they're coming for, they know that, hey, I can go to this place, find RBI, know there's going to be coaches, mentors, people who care about me, are going to, want to invest in me, want to, whatever it is that kid is, whatever phase of life they're in, know that they're going to have that community of support there. And so we're really excited. Actually, we have a property that we just acquired a couple years ago, and it's actually really close to this neighborhood where it's over here on Loyola Lane. And there's an amazing woman named Barbara Scott, who's a community leader. She's been the Colony Park neighborhood president for, I don't want to age her, but for decades, let's just say that. And she had heard about RBI. She got kids from her neighborhood involved a few years ago. And then she heard we were looking for land. She heard, hey, okay, the same thing I just mentioned to you of, hey, RBI is looking to have a home. And she connected us to a local church pastor whose church owned 33 acres right in her neighborhood on Loyola Lane. And the long story short is through Miss Scott and through this church's generosity, we acquired this property. They gave it to us, well below what they could have sold it on the market for. They got another property in exchange.
Especially in this city.
Especially in this city. You talk about 33 acres and you say, as a nonprofit organization, we're gonna have to go out to the country to find 33 acres that we can afford, right?
Yeah.
So Miss Scott, man, she just incredible woman. She cares deeply for this community, and she was the one who connected to this church, and we acquired the property. And so we're actually going through the rezoning phase right now. But the vision for this property is that it would be the headquarters. We have a concept design now that has indoor building where you have the kind of classroom space for the mentoring, academic support, job training. It has some athletic training space indoors, and it also has an outdoor ball field area.
That's insane, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, we were sitting here a few years ago saying, hey, we know we need this, but how in the world, like, where, unless we get a $10 million gift out of the, that we can go make this happen. But we've been so grateful, man, just for Miss Scott and the church. And we're probably at this point 2 or 3 years out from actually being able to operate.
Wow, it takes a while to get this stuff together. Then
it does, and we're making progress. The COVID and the pandemic put a little bit of a slowdown in some of the fundraising and planning side of it, but we're picking up steam again on those things. And but we're excited for it. It'll allow us to continue to do the baseball and softball side of things, but really give a place for kids to, as they get older and want to train in their sport and really go as far as they get, a place to do that. There's just, you look around the eastern crescent of Austin, and there's not a whole lot of places for young athletes to do that, as opposed to, say, if you go west of 35, there's a lot more of that. So we're excited for that, but then we're also excited, man, I mentioned our early guys, man, we just saw the potential, saw their upsides. And it's like, how can you invest in young people in a way that allows them to fulfill their God-given purpose? And we just think, man, giving them access to a network of people, giving them access to academic support, job training, all those things is huge. And so that's a big part of the vision for this site is that it's going to be a place that hopefully long after they're done playing baseball or softball, where kids and families say, hey, this is a place that we can not just hang out and have a good time, but we're going to get those resources and opportunities that are going to help us
That facility's going to be there for a long time. It's going to affect a lot of people's lives. That's something to be super proud of. Very cool.
Yeah, man, that's our hope and prayer for sure. Yeah.
Well, man, I think that I don't know that I think we covered a lot of it. Is there anything else that we're leaving out here?
No, that's good, man. I think, as far as I know, a lot of times people are, well, hey, how can we help? What can we do? Main couple things. People can go to our website, rbiaustin.org. Volunteer opportunities on there, other types of opportunities, but really the two biggest things we always need is time and money, right? And so time, we need coaches, we need mentors, we need people who can come and keep a scorebook at a game. There's a lot of different things people can do that may or may not require any kind of sports background, but just a desire to serve kids. And then on the funding side, we know there's a lot of individuals and business people out there looking to give back and help, especially kids in need in Austin. And so different ways people can do that. You can sponsor one of our teams. You can actually sponsor, a particular player to be a part of our program.
That's neat.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of ways for people to be involved. And so yeah, we invite you guys coming out of, God willing, coming out of this pandemic and praying there won't be another surge in Austin. Things are looking pretty good right now. But I know so many of our kids are just itching to get back out there. And so this is a great year for people who want to get involved. 2021 is the year to do it, man. We're ready for you, and our kids are ready, and we think it's gonna be a great year.
Cool. I'm excited to see the progress in that facility. Do you guys make any updates like on a blog or anything about? I know it's pretty far out, but
yeah, we I can shoot you a link. We have kept it mostly kind of under wraps as far as any kind of PR stuff. We'll get there eventually, but yeah, man, there'll be an announcement probably in the coming year or so, just to give kind of the public a little bit more of an insight into what's happening. But right now, it's been more of these kind of conversations and kind of sharing the vision. And as we get closer to making it happen, we'll share more.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, so with the facility is very diverse in the services that it offered, so it's not totally baseball. So kids are going to be able to come in there and someone can tutor them in their homework and stuff like that. So you're going.
Yep.
So you're going to need volunteers of literally all kinds.
Completely. Yeah. And there's, in our building, there's a STEM room that's planned for it. So all the science, technology, you think about Tesla not far from here and all the different tech jobs in Austin. We want to give young people and even adults. There's a lot of parents who sometimes are in career transitions, and we want to give them a space where, man, if they're trying to get into the tech world and want to kind of build a career doing something new, a space where they could actually have those resources and just build, for them and their family and their kids. And so yeah, it won't be the cool thing about the facility is it's not going to be RBI Austin providing all these resources, but it'll be a hub where for the 1,200 plus kids we serve, for others in the community, where they can come, where we can have partners in the community who do specialize in whether it's job training or other types of resources like that. It'll be a space that we're going to be inviting them in, and then it's the connector for those resources to the kids and families that are showing up.
Super cool, man. It was good to meet you, Matt. And
yeah, thank you, Justin. It was great to chat. Appreciate what you're doing.
Cool. Yeah, rbiaustin.org.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.